Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sebastian. I'm a composer, mostly do production music these days. And on top of the interviews that I do, maybe some of you saw them already with like very great people that I met over the years. I will also teach you some things that I learned in my 25-year career as a composer. So if you like this kind of stuff, consider to subscribe and just comment if you have any questions on this video. So today I want to talk to you about how to write music and earn a living from it in 7 simple steps. I worked, as I said, like for a long time now in this industry, and I saw many of my colleagues struggle throughout their careers, like earning the right amount of money, the money that's needed to actually make a living out of it and not having a side job. And I know what I'm talking about because I had so many side jobs, like so many jobs that I needed to do so I could afford living. And I did everything, like from painting walls to landscaping, like forestry even. I cleaned toilets. I cleaned houses. So I did all kinds of things, like dabbled in web design a little bit and here and there. So I tried everything until one day I decided, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore because my time is more valuable than cleaning toilets. Not to say that cleaning toilets is not necessary. I think I had to make this decision to focus on what was actually bringing in the money and serve the people that I want to serve the most and also serve my family the most. So this is why I changed my focus to not only working as a hobby on compositions, but like doing it full time. Of course, it's a struggle in the beginning, and for 20 years I'm doing this now. It was a long way up, but I learned some things and I want to share these with you today in this video. What I learned first and foremost is like it can be fulfilling, and for me it is, and very lucrative to actually do this full time. But you have to get into the game, right? You have to focus on this one thing. You have to make it work so you can actually do it. Let's get into it, right? So how would you go about starting as a composer, or like starting to make it a full-time thing? What I assume when you watch this, you already know your way around the DAW, like a digital audio workstation. If you don't, I will make a video on this, but I don't know. I think most of the people that will watch this have an understanding of what a DAW is and how it works. You can choose whatever you want. It doesn't really matter these days. The best thing you can do is actually start writing music, of course. I mean, this sounds very obvious, but I know so many people that, many composers, songwriters, and musicians, they don't do it. They do other things. They do gigs, and they do web design, and they do graphic design, and they do like just watch YouTube or Netflix all day long, and they're wondering why their career is not taking off and why they can't make a living from their music. And then some of them just waiting around to when the opportunity comes to them. And this is actually, I'm sorry, not how it's working. And don't waste your time waiting around. Today is the day to take action. So first get started, produce music, finish it, write music, finish it, and so on. This is all you have to do. Not really, you have to do other things as well. So what it gives you is practice. And to be good at something, you have to practice. You have to be diligently practicing your skill and your craft. So this is the first thing. Start writing music, and finish the tracks. So you have experience on the whole process. Then what I would do is, if it's not working yet, if it's not enough income or cash flow to sustain your lifestyle, is to work in fields that are close to music production. So what I did in the beginning, and actually how I got into music, is I worked in an advertising agency. I worked in the film department where they shot the commercials and hired composers and production companies to actually write music for the commercials. These were so valuable lessons that I learned that I would not for a second think that this is going to be a waste of time to work in these other fields. Like in my example, working in an agency helped me understand how the processes work on the client side, right? I didn't know it back then that this would be helpful. I just did my job and tried to be as diligent as possible on the small intern salary that I had. But I knew how the processes worked internally in an agency. And even better, I got so many great connections from this year or year and a half that I worked there, that basically these people kicked off my whole career as a composer. And some of them I still work to this day with. So this is really good and crazy. Yeah, and this is why it's probably the most valuable thing that I have done in my career. A couple of things that I wanted to mention again. So you can take notes, or you will get insights on how music is discussed and decided on by your future clients if you work in a close enough field to music production. This can be the agency that I described, or this can be in the recording studio where the producer sits and you see how they decide on which track to make next. Or you can be in artist management and you can see how they decide and discuss how an artist should plan, how artists plan their career and how they choose songs that they want to work on. And then you get absolutely gold nuggets out of these problems and the needs that you see occur while they're working on the production. What does the composer have to do to fulfill these needs, and how are these composers for the commercials, for example, do that? This experience that you gain there is like absolute gold when it comes to crafting your own offer, when you then and use it to your advantage. And then you get to know the decisions makers, you get to know the hierarchy in these adjacent fields. Who's the artist manager? Who is the director? What does the post-production process look like? How do they decide on which music to get? So this is all very helpful and very valuable insights for your future business. So one more thing that you can do is to write music that you actually want to write and not just do client work. Because if you neglect this part of the equation, then you will be at some point really miserable just working for clients and always having to fulfill their needs, and you never can actually express your creativity through the music. And this is why we actually got into it, right? To express ourselves, to pour our heart and soul into a track. And if you never work on music that you actually want to make, you get drained. I did a terrible job at this in the beginning of my career, like 10 years or so. I didn't even write one single note of music that I wanted to write, because my identity basically was rooted in what clients wanted me to write, which is also, after a while, it's much easier to do because they give you like an example, like a temp track. They give you all the briefs, and like they give you something to work on, like the movie or the film or the commercial or whatever. So this is at some point it was the much easier route to go, and much easier to go this way than to try something that just came out of me, which is counterintuitive because we start writing music because we want to get something out into the world, right? So I highly recommend try this, to just set some time apart each week to write music that you want to write. There's a couple of things that's why it's worthwhile. So first, you understand much more who you are and who you want to be as a composer. So writing just for clients means you fulfill their vision. If you write for yourself and for your own music, you write for yourself and for your vision. So that doesn't have to mean you have to be an artist and like be streamed hundreds of millions of times on Spotify. This is more like the direction that you want to go with your business. You find out, okay, I really love rock and roll, or I really love trailer music, or I really love EDM, but I don't really like R&B. In my example, for example, I really can't write in this style, but yeah, I don't want to. I'm never saying never, but if someone wants R&B, I'm mostly saying no. So this makes it, you find your own voice over time, and this is not something you write and this is the same principle that I said before. You write it and finish it, so you get a feeling of what actually gives you the most joy and makes you a better composer. The third simple step is make friends. In the industry, in adjacent fields, find out where are these networking events. And I understand, we have heard it hundreds of times, that we need to network and find good connections. But what I mean is like make friends, like find people. This can be filmmakers, directors, producers, agency people, other music houses, artist managers, music supervisors. So there's a whole bunch of these people out there. And in my experience, and what actually helped me to propel my career is if I was actually interested in their relationship, in my relationship with them. I didn't make connections just to make money, because people can smell it. If you want to be their friend, so to say, just to get something out of them, doesn't get you anywhere. It just makes you seem desperate, and it makes you like a person people don't want to be around. Consider finding people that you actually like to hang out with, to have a beer with, to have a coffee with, and actually have good conversations with. Because out of these relationships in my career, the best products and the best end results came out of. And think about this way: what can I give them first? And you will see that something comes back to you from them if you do it like from your heart and really see it as a win-win situation, but their win first. Okay, the fourth step really fits well into what I just talked about, making friends. And it is develop a valuable network. So what's the difference between friends and network? I mean, the network is much larger, and you cannot be friends with everyone in your network, but you can be friendly to anyone in your network. So make friends. These are like your core people that you can bounce ideas off of, that you can make like your own projects together with them. And with your network, this means you find people that you can help to improve their results. And there's so many different ways to build networks these days. So the first thing you think about when you hear network, you think about social networks, of course. And this is a great start. I mean, Instagram, Facebook. I wouldn't say they have been huge for me, but my first music supervisor connection came from Facebook, which is kind of weird, right? And then you sometimes hear these shout outs to, we need new composers, we need a composer. And you can respond to this on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or wherever you want to be. And this is a great start. But I wouldn't use any social platform just to pitch your stuff. Give value first, and you will see that the value comes back to you. And this is a long run marathon kind of situation. And mostly we use the social networks to follow influencers or our heroes and maybe our peers. But if you want to use it right for building a sustainable business from your music, you have to also find potential clients and fans. So where do you find them? Where do they hang out? Where do your clients hang out? So where do your clients hang out? Social networks, as I said, are a great starting point for initial contact, but I would highly recommend you to make it a valuable network. You have to get them somehow to get on your email list. You cannot rely on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. They have all the information, you don't. So if they shut down your account, all your connections are lost. I'm sure most of you already know this, but I'm just saying, get them to subscribe to you and not have them just as friends on Facebook. Okay, and then fifth step is to actually do the work. You should believe in yourself and your art and your skill and be confident in all of that. But a director, a producer, or agency owner, they don't know you, they don't trust you, they are not confident in believing in you just because you say you are an artist and you can write music. So you have to show them that you have the skills and the knowledge to develop the score for their project. So the best way to do this is actually to make a really real project. And how do you find these potential clients? I know this might sound obvious, and this might actually sound for some of you scary or even like not worth it. But I would suggest find students that do films or commercials and work with them. There's no budget. I can tell you this right off the bat. And it's most of the time also very hard to work with these people because they didn't learn yet how to manage a project like as big as a movie or as a commercial. So they don't know how to work with people. But the good thing is if you can work with these people, then you can work with everyone. With more experienced people that know how, with directors that know how to do it because they did it a bunch of times. So don't be discouraged. Just find a school close to you or look online for projects. There are so many like calls for composers out there. There's not a budget, but it doesn't matter. You learn something, you give them something, and maybe even in the future, they will actually come back to you with a real project, like real in terms of they pay you. But a student film or commercial is a great way to start, and you learn, they get what they want, you have a successful relationship with them, you can show off to other people. So go out there, find some work to do. There's even like clips on YouTube these days that you can just score to, which is like a second best option. I would rather do it on original stuff that they actually want you to work for, the students. And you can like learn so many things. You find weaknesses in their story and can enhance it. You can just in general like learn people skills for yourself. You know how to handle objections and you learn how to interpret what they're saying into music, which is basically our main job in my opinion. So this is just a win-win for you because you learn, for them because you get what they want, and a double win for you because you can show it to other people and get work. So the seventh step is to get down to business. There's no money being made without you going for and talk about money. Most of the time we just go in there and like, oh, they will pay us, whatever they have as budget. But you can be confident that you have some experience now because you did some work, and you have to have some number in mind. Otherwise, there's no way to negotiate with if you don't have any goal. Like, where do you want to go with this? What do you think is your price? And I would actually go this far to say and to mention it first. So if a client comes to you and they have this project, they want to do this and this and this, they have this commercial, they want to have this kind of music, I wouldn't charge on like what type of music it is. I wouldn't even charge. I would definitely not charge hourly. And I would try to find out what kind of value they think they're getting if they work with you. And then based on that, ask them on a budget. Because if they are serious about their commercial, they know exactly how much music budget they put in their calculation. So ask them straight forward. And if this is a professional company or a professional director, they will say it because some might try to lowball you, but then you have to think about, okay, do you actually want to work with these people? So ask them straight away. And I did this a couple of times. One was very interesting. I actually mentioned it first and I asked what their budget is and they said it. And then you have if you made your decision already, what number you have in mind. If it's over this number, you can easily say, oh, that's fine, perfect. This works for me. If it's under it, you can still say, yeah, it works. But you have to you now can react. You don't have to pick a number out of a bucket and hope that this is not over their budget, And when you pick your number before you go into negotiation, you have to not underestimate your value. We know and feel like music is such a commodity these days with all these platforms that basically give producers music for nothing. But a custom-made track to their liking with revisions and a guarantee maybe even is worth something. But also, don't overvalue yourself. Be reasonable with your prices. Factor in your experience, the client's budget, of course, and also maybe if you're just starting out, the value it brings to you, this project, on top of the money. Maybe a great name for the brand that you're working on, a great director, someone that you think will be famous one day and you get to work with him now, then maybe remember you when they are famous. So I would factor all these things in and then pick a number and then see what the budget is, right? And if you go into this negotiation, I would maybe even make a list of benefits to work with you instead of maybe music from a library or working with other composers. Maybe have some good points there to show them the benefits to working with you.